Right, well, hello Year 10. Welcome back after your weekend. I hope you had a good one. As you can see, putting this lesson together for you just to talk you through the double that you've had and just to go through some of the activities I wanted to do. What you should have done by now is you should have watched my other 3 videos which I set you for the first period, so that will be period 1 of today. That was the video on Act 1 Scene 3, Act 1 Scene 4. Those are really important because everything here relates to you knowing those acts, so watch those first. And then also my witches video as well, because all of these activities sort of tie up what I would have taught you in the lesson today there. So that's it. All these lessons you should realise as well aren't just me sort of trying to find stuff for you to do. These are all the lessons I would have taught. This lesson here that's on the screen is basically me pinching bits of the PowerPoints I would have used and trying to put them together into one single lesson. Do watch this video carefully. Please do watch it all the way through. Some of you I know are drifting, aren't paying full attention to these videos, and I'll know at the end of the lesson who has watched this all the way through properly and thoroughly, because I have my ways of checking which I'm not going to reveal to you. Only you will find out when I tell you in the comments on Show My Homework later. A shame that you didn't watch my video all the way through. Anyway, there's a title on the screen there for you. So it's Macbeth in Act 1 Scene 3 and Scene 4. If you could start just writing that one down somewhere. Remember all these notes, keep them really safe. File them in order because we're going to be working through the play in order like you did for A Christmas Carol, bit by bit. And you want your notes to be in order so when we come to revise in Year 11, they're there and they'll help you. There will be probably virtual lessons coming. It's something we're looking into, whether I can actually do some live lessons for you. We're just trying to work out quite how you can put that together in the right way. And it might be we're joined by other classes. But anyway, I volunteered to do that, so I imagine more to come on that one. I'm going to presume you've got that by now. So there's my first question, which you're not going to be able to answer because you can't interact with me, obviously. But what you know about Macbeth already. Act 1, Scene 2 is the one you did last week. That is where you had the captain giving a report to the king about Macbeth in battle, who you see there. That is a screenshot taken from a recent film version of it with Michael Fassbender, who's an excellent actor playing Macbeth. He certainly was very brave, very loyal, but remember he did some really violent things as well. He unseamed the guy from the nave to the chaps would be one thing you might be able to remember. He fixed his head on their battlements. He's sort of valiant and brave. Brave Macbeth, worthy Macbeth, the 2 words that are used for him. So what else have I got on my screen here? I think I've got one more thing. The interesting thing about the way that he's been introduced, well, the fact is that Macbeth hasn't actually stood on the stage yet. He has now. You've done Act 1, Scene 3 and Scene 4 in my last lesson, but up until that point we're only hearing about him, so we're building this idea, and then when he finally arrives, that should be quite an exciting thing because you're waiting to see what he's going to be like. I'm going to move on here. You're going to see Macbeth for the first time. It says, well, you have in some ways. You have seen him when you read the scenes that I set you earlier. These are 2 screen grabs from a different version of Macbeth, starring Patrick Stewart. Is quite a famous actor. Some of you might know him from the X-Men or other things. Star Trek is another one as well. And that in the bottom right there is a version of the witches. In this scene, which is set like in 1920s Russia, there are a bunch of witches. The witches are a group of nurses, but they sort of have this real evil, malevolent air to them as well. So what we know about him already? Well, he's certainly a very loyal soldier. He's also very strong as a soldier as well. And yet, he's going to encounter the witches. How will this noble warrior react when he encounters people who are associated with the devil, agents of the devil, as I said in my other video? Well, you saw it already how he reacted. He was curious. He wanted to know more. It shows a real weakness to his character, or, and this is a key word which is going to come up several times when you're studying this play, ambition. And I'll be really comfortable with that word ambition. If you're not sure, remember you can pause my videos, by the way, because I know I have to move quite quickly because I've got a time limit. But ambition, write that word down somewhere. Ambition is basically that desire to have more, that desire to be greater, and desire is a key word there. Ambition is often, you have an ambition for something. It's where you want to be. Well, Macbeth's ambition absolutely is he's curious because of how the witches sort of tease him with information. His ambition is to be king now, and yet he shouldn't be king because to be king is seen as somebody who's chosen by God. But I'm going to come on to that in a few lessons' time. So anyway, how could he possibly be persuaded to listen to them? Well, they give him the information that he desires, and that is what makes him listen to them. So what I want you to do is you're going to need to pause this video definitely now, and I want you to go back to the photo. Some of you did a photo actually, but your notes that you did on Macbeth last time, where you did the picture and you had the bubbles of the quotes around him. And actually, I want you to add a couple of quotes. I think you'll find Act 1, Scene 3 is useful, but also Act 1, Scene 4. We're going to come on to some of those quotes again in a minute, but I did highlight them in pink on the video you watched this morning. So it should be a case of simply either going back to those videos or finding the quotes that you've written down in your notes already, I hope. Either way, you're going to want to pause this, and I'm going to want you to see you send me your picture again with Show My Homework. So if you can do those quotes in a different colour, that's even better. So you definitely want to pause this video now and have a go. That's my activity I want you to do, please. Okay. I'm presuming you've done the pause thing. I forgot to put task on the activities today, but you can call that one task 1. That's the first thing I've had to get you to do for period 2. So that's task 1 in hand, done. Right. Now this is something you're going to do. This is task 2 coming up. So you're going to want to write that on your page in a second. But what we need to do is need to think about then, how has Shakespeare developed the character? Like Scrooge in A Christmas Carol develops from the start to the end, and you will gain marks by talking about how he changes and why he changes. The same is true of Macbeth. He changes from the beginning to the end of the play. This Act 1, Scene 3 and Scene 4 are really important because they are the first sort of turning point where you can start to see him changing ever so slightly. And I've got some sentence starters I'd like you to use and write down for task number 2. So I will help you with this as well. So listen, because I know some of you struggle to know what to write. I'm pretty much about to tell you in my words, and then it's up to you just to pause the video and try and write that down in your words, what you remember. So I've got some sentence starters there. Shakespeare has, you can copy this one word for word. Shakespeare has already presented a change in the character of Macbeth from how we have expected him to be. By which I mean we expected him to be loyal and noble and strong as a soldier, because that's how he sounded when we first heard about him. He's actually turning out to be a bit of a traitor already. Next sentence. Shakespeare has him actually question the witches for more information, which shows and what about him. Now you could say it shows his curiosity, but I would like to say which shows his ambition, because he wants to find out more about how he becomes king. And that is how I would finish that second sentence starter there. The third and final one is, this makes the character flawed, untrustworthy because, and this is where you can link to the idea about witches. Remember, witches, and they knew this, witches were the devil's agents. They are doing the devil's work, the evil work, and yet Macbeth still questions them and wants to know more. Therefore, that makes him flawed, like he has problems with his character, or untrustworthy because think about the fact he wants to know more information from somebody who's evil, so even though he knows it's bad, he still wants to do it. That makes him untrustworthy because he doesn't stop when he knows it's wrong. And that's what I want you to try and put into your words somehow. So you're going to want to pause this now. I'm going to do my little pause moment to give you a chance to pause the video. Have a go, write those down with the answers I've just done. If you can't remember, rewatch this bit of video. I'm going to be quiet now. Pause the video now, please. Pause. Done, hopefully. Good, brilliant. Right, let's move on then. That was task 2. Remember, write task 2. At this moment, by the way, I'm going to throw in my secret word that I want you to write down at the top of your page. When you take a photo of it later, make sure I can see this. This is how I will know that you have watched this video thoroughly, because I know that some people aren't and I want to find out who they are. You won't be that person because you're listening right now. I'd like you to write down the word fire, please, F-I-R-E, fire, and I'd like you to draw me a picture of a fire, or even someone being burned at the stake, but that's a little bit grim. So a fire, and if you're really artistic, someone being burned at the stake. I know. Why not, eh? And then I'll know that you've been listening. Right, let's move on. Right, couple things I want to talk you through quickly. These will help you with the quote explosions. Macbeth in Act 1, Scene 4 talks about the king's son as a step that he must overleap. That is a metaphor. I said here, what does it show? I think it shows the ambition that Macbeth has got already, because he can see himself almost climbing steps towards his goal. That's the way I want you to think about that one. And the stars, I mentioned this in my other video as well, but it's almost like he's talking to the heavens. It's almost like he's talking to the gods and doesn't want them to see his evil that he feels inside of him. Now, I'm running out of time here. I've got about 5 minutes. We're going to explode a quote together in a second, and I want you to copy this one into your notes and do what I do. but also there is the next one. I'm going to emphasize this now. Task 3, your final task, is you doing a quote explosion. Listen, because I will give you some hints on it. So we haven't got a huge amount of time. Let's just move on then. This is the Act 1 Scene 4 when he says, the Prince of Cumberland, so that is the King's son. That is a step on which I must fall down or else o'erleap, for in my way it lies. And what I've got going on here, then, it is a step on which I must fall down. Or else, if I'm going to go, is a step. That's the first thing I'm going to analyse, and I'll put that down here. This illustrates that Macbeth has already seen his path towards becoming king and sees it as a series of steps to achieve. It shows us his ambition, if I could spell that word, already. And I'm just going to shrink that down while you are hopefully copying. Remember, you can pause this and slow it down because I am going to have to go quite quickly here. The other thing I'd like to do, now I often say 3 things, but certainly 2 would be really good for it's or else o'erleap. Now, what does he mean? He's going to overleap this step. The king's son who's in his way, he's going to overleap it. Well, this suggests that Macbeth is considering evil deeds, perhaps even killing the king's son, even killing the king's son so that he can become the king. Again, what does it show us? Again, this, because we're trying to link to the themes all the time here. In this case, it's the theme of ambition. Again, this shows Macbeth's desire and ambition that has come from the witches. Look where the apostrophe goes there. The witches. Prophecies is a word I use a lot in my videos. A prophecy is a prediction of the future. And there it is. Right, so I'm just going to shrink those down a little bit so you can have them both on the screen. You will probably want to pause this video now because I'm going to quickly move on to helping you with the final quote that is your task. So pause this video if you need to now and have a go and make sure those are on your notes. If not, let's go back quickly then. Oh, no, trying to get onto that. Let's go back to this and click this and then just move on here. This one then, and I've said at the bottom, can you make a link to all the videos you've watched today then, all the things you've heard, when Macbeth says, stars, hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires. I think there are 2 things that you are going to want to explode when you do this and that I'd be looking for in your work today. The first one is stars, hide your fires. The metaphor, you can label it as a metaphor, that the stars symbolise the heavens, hide your fires, because it's almost like he doesn't want the heavens to see what his evil thoughts, which maybe shows he's ashamed of what he's doing. That would be the first thing I'd say there. And then it's the next bit, black and deep desires would be the bit I highlight and explode there. Black and deep desires, this suggests that he knows what he is doing is wrong, yet the ambition still means that he wants to do those evil things. It maybe changes what we thought, and this is the other thing I think it's important to add. It shows us that even a noble character like Macbeth can be manipulated into doing evil things, because this play, I'm running out of time, but this play, you can add this as well, this play is about you and me. We are like Macbeth. If we get given the right push, perhaps we are capable of evil things as well. So it's more than just witches and soldiers. This is about humans and our ability to be manipulated and do evil things. And if you can try and add that to your answer, that will be merit worthy. And some of you are gaining loads of merit, so keep working hard. Year 10, this video was longer than I intended, but I hope it's useful to you. Remember, there are 3 tasks that I am looking for, which I've gone through for the through the PowerPoint today and through this video. I wish you the best of luck with it. Thanks for watching all the way through, and I can't remember when our next lesson is, but I shall see you virtually then. Goodbye.